Hey, what is going on, my friends, and welcome back to another video on the My Stock Journey channel. Today I wanted to take a quick look at a really hot topic recently, something that's been going on a lot, and I'm sure you know from the title, that's why you're here, and I wanted to talk about airline stocks. So, airline stocks have been crazy recently. We've had Warren Buffett, he dumped all his shares, which I personally don't understand. I went and looked to see why he did it, and I kind of understand his point of view, but I do believe that airline stocks are going to recover a bit. I think they're going to recover a bit more than he anticipates they will. And so I'm not saying I know more than Warren Buffett at all in no capacity whatsoever. I just personally, from my opinion, I think that there have been better points to sell at. I felt like airline stocks would recover some ground as more people start to travel. And so with that being said, I feel like their stock values would increase, and then maybe if you wanted to dump them, it would have been better to dump them at a better price. That's just me personally. I'm like I said, I'm pretty new to this whole thing. I've only been in it for coming up on half a year now, so I don't want to pretend like I've been doing this for years. It's not true at all. But that's just my take on the situation. That's just my opinion. But yeah, so I did want to just go over some things that I've kind of taken notice of recently, some articles and some stuff, in my opinion, of why I believe airlines are going to start to make a comeback real soon. And yeah, let's get into it. So, as we all know, airlines have been hit hard from this pandemic. We've had some of these airlines drop over 50%, very massive drops. I do believe, if I remember correctly, TSA said that it went from 2.2 million daily people passing through TSA checkpoints down to 87,000 people, which is insane. That is a very, very big difference. And so that kind of does show how eerie the airports are, and how empty these planes are and everything like that. And people are traveling less. We have the travel restrictions. People can't get into certain countries. A lot of places can't come to the U.S. right now, and we can't go to other places. And so with that being said, it has limited these airlines to the amount of people that really are available to travel. And so with that being said, one thing that I've noticed recently is that it seems like, as of now, if there's not a second outbreak, which is very possible, but say if there's not a second outbreak, I do think we've seen the bottom of this whole thing already. I don't think it's going to get worse again for some reason than whenever all this was just at its peak and Corona was spreading the most, at the highest rates. I don't anticipate that stocks would drop that low again without a second outbreak because of coronavirus. And so with that being said, I do think that it's only up from here. One big thing is we don't know how long it's going to take for certain airline stocks and airplane companies and everything like that to start getting that revenue again and to start becoming profitable. And with that being said, we don't know, I don't personally believe that every airline stock is going to make it through this, especially if it's extended throughout to the end of the year possibly. And so with that being said, I think it's very important to take a look at what stocks have the better balance sheets and which ones were betterly prepared for a situation like this, because I do think that classifies them as the ones who are going to make it and the ones who aren't, the ones who are going to swim and the ones who are going to sink. And so with all that being said, and kind of the negatives out the way, I do want to take a look at some of the positive things that we've seen recently and what good news we've been hearing about airline stocks and why I'm buying soon. I do believe I'm either going to buy in tomorrow, I don't know, maybe early next week, tomorrow, early next week, because it is Thursday right now. And so, yeah, so let's take a look at that. One of the Cohen analysts, Helene Becker, she did go and she kind of gave her take on the whole situation, and it was very in depth. If you want to go check out that article, definitely go check it out. But she was basically saying that as a lot of these states are starting to open up and a lot of these businesses are starting to reopen, companies are starting to do their thing again, and as our economy is reopening, as long as there's not a second outbreak. All this is pretty hypothetical, because I do believe if there's a second outbreak, we're going to drop lower than we did before. And that would not be good in a sense of if you already are down, but if you bought at that bottom, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I mean, you'd probably lose a little bit of money, but that is a better buying opportunity to get in again. And, on a side note, one thing I have said is that people want a V-shaped recovery. Honestly, I wouldn't necessarily mind a U-shaped recovery, because I do feel like that gives us more time and more opportunity to buy some of these stocks at better prices. If it's a V-shaped recovery, then we would only have a certain amount of time in which we could take advantage of these huge growth margins. So that's just my take on that. But back to the airline stock. So she was basically saying that she's anticipating that regional travel, intrastate travel from, state to state is definitely going to start to get better. More people are going to want to start flying. I personally know people who've been taking some trips, and, I feel like that's very true, right? I feel like a lot of people, especially the ones my age, are starting to kind of ease up and not be so tense about the whole situation. And they're actually seeing all these airlines and all that charging a lot less, and are taking advantage of that for the summertime. They're going on summer trips and doing that thing. And I think it's because a lot of the worry around coronavirus is starting to ease up a little bit. And so with that being said, people are being more confident to go take these trips. And all of that leads to airlines having more passengers, more revenue, better for the company, and their stock price goes up. So I do agree with that. I think as everything's starting to ease up a bit, they're going to start making more revenue, hopefully close some of that loss that they're taking, because I know a lot of these companies are blowing through millions a day. And so I do agree with Helene that it will definitely start to get better as this regional and intrastate travel does grow. So whenever it comes to these different companies and these airlines and, Southwest, Delta, Spirit, all them, one thing that is very a big confidence boost, I guess, is the fact that they're doing their duties and their job to make sure that they're giving the best opportunity to still travel. And so I mean it in a sense of they're not just being like, well, people are starting to want to travel regionally, so let's just let as many people on the plane as possible. What they're doing is, I think Southwest they're like doing it in a way in which they don't use middle seats. They try to separate people. They only operate at a certain capacity. And so they're doing their job to make sure that they are giving people the opportunity to use their services. And I think that'll be very good for business, because it's basically saying like, we're prepared and we've made the changes and have adapted to this situation. And companies that can adapt in almost any situation are the ones that I believe tend to do better. And so with that being said, that's also another good positive that I've been noticing from this whole situation. Because, it'd be easy for some of these companies to just be like, well, we're just going to go back to the old-fashioned way and try to make as much money as possible. And that is just not the smart way to do it, in my opinion. Definitely, like what Southwest is doing is limiting capacity and doing certain things to make sure that people are more safe and, not too close. Try to follow some of these social distancing guidelines is definitely another benefit of this whole situation, and why I believe that airline stocks are going to start making a comeback real soon. Another reason in which I do believe that airlines are going to slowly start to make this return, I mean, I'm not saying they're going to return fast, but I definitely do think from now, it'll definitely be an uptrend. We might have some down days, some down weeks at that, but I do think overall it's going to be more of an uptrend. And so with that being said, I do think a big part of that is the bailouts that the airline companies have been getting from the government. I think it was Spirit who's getting somewhere around $330 million to help them out through September. And then that can also be extended if they need more after that. And, that's very, very important, because a lot of small businesses say they're the ones who are really struggling during this, because a lot of small businesses aren't getting as much support. And with that being said, it's very hard for them to stay open. They don't have as much liquidity. But whenever you look at Spirit, say, or Southwest, when they're sitting on $13 billion in cash, just in case, cut their dividends. And it's very important to take notice of what these companies are doing to ensure that they will be fine throughout the long run. I think Southwest said that they are going to be able to uphold their, what's going on right now for up to 20 months with the balance and the cash that they have now. And I do find that super duper impressive, but it also goes to show the strength of the company, because I feel like a lot of people always say, well, have your emergency money set, have your money set aside just for the worst. But whenever we're like, well, what's really going to happen? Then something like this happens, and a lot of people struggle, and a lot of businesses and companies struggle from something like that. Whereas Southwest is making sure they're sitting on a lot of cash and have a strong balance sheet, have their management team doing the right things for a situation like this. And it shows their true, dominance in an industry in which they have a lot of competitors. And so that is definitely a big thing. I'm very impressed by what Southwest has done. And so that will lead me into saying Southwest is the company that I'm looking to buy. I'm definitely going to buy within the next 3 or 4 days of the market being open. I have certain prices that I tend to look for. I haven't gone over them specifically yet. But once I get a buying price in which I'm going to be comfortable with buying, I'm definitely going to let you guys know. But yeah, man, Southwest has genuinely shown their true worth during a situation like this. They've shown that they're a very strong company, and it makes me feel good as an investor knowing that if a situation that shuts down travel in the world doesn't fully just break down an airline company, then they're ready for the worst. They're ready for something absolutely, maybe could be even worse than this. And so that's the reason why I am definitely going to be investing in Southwest. I do see a lot of upside potential in them. Also, the dividends, also, that's a big thing for me. I love the dividend payouts. And it's not the highest yield, but it's definitely something there. And yeah, Southwest all the way. So some other companies that I did want to take a quick look at as well is some like Delta. So one reason why I do believe Delta is also going to do well, I don't think they're going to be as strong in the long term as Southwest will be. It's very possible, and I'm not saying don't buy Delta. Personally, I'm not yet. I might in the future, just kind of gauge what all's going on. But Delta actually gets 70% of its revenue from domestic travel, which means like in country, from Florida to Georgia, from Georgia to Washington, stuff like that. And that's very important in the mid and short term because as some of these countries aren't letting people in still, you can't go to say France right now or Italy. As countries aren't allowing people in, that means airlines can't bring people there, meaning that they're not getting the revenue from those flights, right? But as like we spoke about earlier, as a lot of people are starting to travel regionally, domestically, and they're starting to travel within the country, that's very, very important for a company like Delta, who gets most of its revenue from intrastate and domestic travel. So I'm very excited to kind of see how it all plays out. I do think that Delta is going to benefit super well for the next couple months as people are starting to just travel from different state to state. And so I'm very excited to see how their balance grows, and I'm excited to see their earnings because I think they're actually going to do better than people think. So yeah, we'll see how that plays out in the next few months. So another company that I will take a look at is Spirit. Now, I did mention it earlier that Spirit is getting loans about $335 million from the government. And that's super helpful because, yeah, they will have to, work on that and everything. But that holds them up and makes sure that they don't go under, you don't go in a hole, you know what I mean? And so with that being said, they also did have $1 billion in reserves, which is super duper good, maybe not the best and maybe not the most, but it's something there just in case. And that to me just signifies that they are well prepared for situations like this. They're also raising another 1.7 billion, which will hold them off if demand doesn't increase for another 14 months. And so I see with that, I know Spirit does make a lot of its money from regional and domestic travel. And so I do think in the mid to short to midterm, they'll definitely start to do better. Like as people do start to travel. And so I'm excited once again to see how that plays out, and excited to see how much money they start to making and stuff like that. And so the big three that I'm looking at right now are Southwest, Delta, and Spirit. Just for the reason that I previously mentioned, I do think that they're going to start to do a lot better than they are now. Worries are less, just from seeing the market, seeing the news, seeing people and talking to people that I know. I just can tell that people are starting to get a little bit less not less cautious, but less scared of this whole situation. So with that being said, I do think people are going to just start to be able to get out more. And hey, honestly, like I think it is a good time to kind of test the waters and see what all we can do without starting out another second outbreak or anything like that. And so with that being said, a lot of these companies and these airline companies are going to start to benefit from that. And that's why I do believe that they're going to start to make a big comeback. Not sure. Who knows when they'll reach the 2019 highs? It could be 3-4 years from now if there's not a second outbreak. But I do think if you're a long-term investor, 10, 15, 20 years, this could be a good time to buy while it's down, because as people, like I said, as people start to get more confident, they're going to start to travel more, and these airlines are going to directly benefit from it. If you guys did like that video, definitely let me know down below. I know it's a little bit different than what I usually do, but you guys tend to ask me a little bit how I think about this stock or this industry. And so I just wanted to give my take on the airline industries. I could sound completely wrong to some people, and definitely let me know down in the comment section. I'm totally open to any feedback, criticism, critiques, whatever it may be. If you are new to the channel, we're pushing 100 subscribers right now. We've been up for 3 weeks actually, and we're coming up on 100 subscribers, which is absolutely amazing. It makes me so motivated, inspired, and drives me to want to create more and more for you guys. I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.